All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Studs Podcast. This is Mike here. We are here with the whole crew, including our special guest, Big Rick. Rick, how you doing, man?
Doing good. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing well. Louie, how's it going?
It's good. I'd like to dedicate this podcast to absolutely nobody.
Awesome.
All right. Okay, and we're going to go to Keith in the office. Keith, how you doing, man?
Doing all right, man. Holding up all right so far. How you doing?
I'm just living life. Everything's great right now, and let's get into it. Last Dance episodes 3 and 4. Let's go to our special guest, Rick. What's your thoughts, man?
Well, I had a number of key takeaways from these episodes. Number one, really, I just thought it was interesting how they showed MJ's journey to through the playoffs, leading up to his first championship. You know, him defeating the Cavaliers under head coach Doug Collins, and all the adversity he faced after that with the Pistons, and them implementing the Jordan rules, trying to foul him before he could try to dunk it. And as you watch the episodes, you could really just tell that MJ still has beef with Isaiah Thomas till this day. He still has built up emotions against that guy. And really, I thought it was interesting how MJ was talking about that he shook the hands of the Pistons, every year that he lost to them at the end of the playoffs. And then the one year that they finally beat him and moved on, the Pistons just ended up walking off the court because they were so embarrassed. And the second thing I took away from this is that really Phil Jackson is one of the greatest basketball minds in the game ever, because he implemented the triangle offense, and really after being hired, and took a lot of the pressure off of MJ, unlike Doug Collins, who really wanted to keep the ball in MJ's hand while Phil was trying to take it out of his hands and really open up opportunities for everyone else.
Absolutely, yeah.
And he really used different techniques to keep the team motivated throughout the season, like he was doing yoga with them. And I just thought that was really interesting, because I don't think a lot of the other teams at the time were doing that. But so that, and then Tex Winter really is just a basketball genius too, because he's the guy who invented the triangle offense to open up shots for people and just really keep everyone moving at all times, and just keep the ball swinging around. So I thought that was interesting. And then finally, Dennis Rodman's a total nut job. He's crazy.
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting how he had to take a mini vacation in the middle of the season after Scottie Pippen came back. And, he obviously everyone knew he was going to be gone longer than 48 hours. I think he was gone for like 96 hours or something in reality.
Yeah.
And, he's in there partying in Vegas and, having or hanging out with Carmen Electra and I think Madonna a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought it was funny how he, as Michael Jordan's going to pick him up out of Vegas, Carmen Electra's like hiding in the hotel room as Michael's coming to get Dennis Rodman. And then really, once Dennis gets back to the Bulls practice facility, showing up to practice in his PJs. So
Yeah, that was funny.
I thought it was an interesting couple episodes.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I think it was more interesting than the first two. Definitely, a lot of knowledge. Keith, your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts are very similar to Eric's. The first episode they talked about Dennis Rodman, a lot, and one thing that was opening to me, because when I think about the Chicago Bulls of the '90s, I mean, there's two people that come to mind really for players, for me at least, and it's Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. I think Dennis Rodman is probably, if not the most underrated player during this championship run that he had with the Bulls. I think that they said a couple times he's had like 3 or 4 games where he's had like no points and like 20 rebounds. The guy is a menace on defense. I found that it was really fascinating that when like Michael Jordan was talking about like Dennis Rodman, he would be going in the locker room or whatever, or just like in the practice facility, just like watching tape all day on like his opponents or whatever to like get to know their habits. You know what I mean? For me, I hear stories about Dennis Rodman. Obviously, he's a whack job to his own degree. He's very eccentric. And I just thought that it was fascinating that there's this whole different side to him because you're used to hearing about just like this how crazy this guy is, but like he in his own right is a basketball genius too on the defensive side of the ball, and like you don't think about that really. You think about always like offense. It's, like I said earlier, Jordan and Pippen and how explosive they are on offense and the big plays that they make. Well, on the other hand, Dennis Rodman, like I was saying, he's doing all this dirty work, and it's going unrecognized. So like Eric was saying earlier, yeah. I thought it was also interesting, after Pippen came back in and then he had his whole his Vegas adventures. That was pretty interesting to watch too. But yeah, just like I said, I mean, it was really interesting to learn more about Dennis Rodman. And for my other thing that I wanted to talk about, like Eric said, was about Phil Jackson and the impact that he had on the team with his triangle offense. I also thought it was interesting. They talked about like his backstory a little bit. I think he like grew up or like was born in Montana or something like that, and like he had like this hippie kind of like lifestyle too. You know what I mean? I had no idea that he came from that kind of background, but like Eric was saying too, and I mean the guy's super talented, great coach. Worked to get the ball out of MJ's hands to help get other people looks, and I thought it was pretty cool that they interviewed Michael Jordan about that too. He was saying like, oh man, I love working for the other guy, Doug Collins. It was simple. He just gave me the ball and I did my own thing. But Phil Jackson obviously thought differently, and I mean, like Eric already said, the guy is a basketball coaching genius. And a lot of this team's success, I think, has to do with him because, like we saw with the Pistons, they were talking about back when Dennis Rodman was in the Pistons, the Piston Bad Boys they were called or whatever, I forget. I mean, once you stop Jordan, dude, that you pretty much put you snuff out the Bulls' offense. That's how it was. So Phil Jackson, I mean, credit to him. Great coach, great offensive mind, and all around, probably one of the, like Eric said, probably one of the greatest coaches to ever be in the game.
Definitely. Louie?
Yeah, well said points by Rick and Keith. I think episodes 3 and 4 were definitely a lot more interesting than 1 and 2, Mike. I definitely agree with you on that perspective. It was cool to see, I mean, when we talk about Dennis Rodman, we look at him and the guy is just an absolute character, you know what I mean? So from that perspective, just seeing him partying in Vegas, even just listen to him talk in the interviews is sometimes tough to even understand him. I don't know about you guys, but
it's because he's got those like rings going on. He's got like a lip ring and some nose rings. You can't even hear him talk over him.
I'm like, what the hell is this dude saying? Like, sometimes I have to pause and like, all right, I didn't fully quite get what he was saying.
Yeah, it's a good thing they got those subtitles.
Yeah, it was cool to see his life though. He grew up, I think, at part times he was homeless, moving from a couch to sometimes on the streets to somebody's backyard. It was a struggle for Dennis Rodman. I think he lived with, I think he had all sisters, so he had a very feminine side to him that we saw, which is pretty cool for me to see at least. Just like the cross dressing and all that. That was pretty cool just to see his lifestyle, but just his will for the game, and especially on the end that no one really likes to put in that effort. Just how he would rebound the ball. He would practice rebounding. He'd have his friends shoot shots for him, and he would rebound the ball. I don't think too many players would actually practice that way. Practice rebounding. Not. Hey, you guys come over. I'm the NBA professional. You guys all shoot around. You bums shoot around. You break every shot. I'm going to get every rebound, and I'm going to figure out how the ball – and he would study how Michael's misses would bounce, where they would bounce. Mm-hmm. So that was pretty cool to see. Yeah, but it was, and also credit to Scotty and credit more to Michael and Phil for letting Scotty take that hiatus because they understood that they needed him. They needed him more than ever. He was the enforcer of that team, and if he wasn't there, I don't know if they're winning that many championships. I don't know if they're winning 6. It's just the truth. So he was there for the long haul, and they accepted him for who he was. So I know it's not really great to make special treatments for players, but for him, they understood that they needed him, and they obeyed to whatever he needed to do. Also, like to go along with the bad boys, that era, man, those guys were just some real jerks, man.
Yeah.
Isaiah Thomas, I especially hate Bill Laimbeer. I think Bill Laimbeer's a chump. I think he's an absolute chump. And the fact that they wouldn't shake Michael's hand after he finally beat them after beating the crap out of the Bulls 2 years in a row, I think that says something about their character.
Yeah.
Tradition or not, I feel like when you compared that to the Celtics were forced to get off the court. It wasn't a walk off the court. They were forced off the court because those Detroit fans are very, very crazy. I don't know another word for crazy, but those fans would have definitely did something to the Celtics during those years. So the fourth episode, it was cool to see. I like Doug Collins. I think Doug Collins is a nice guy, and Michael Jordan really loved him. But I don't think his style of coaching resulted to winning. And that's what they did with the Bulls. So Phil Jackson, what was that guy's name, Rick, that invented the triangle?
Tex Winter.
Yeah, what a name, huh?
Winter in Texas, baby.
Tex Winter. I'm impressed you know that, Eric. I'm sorry. I do that too often.
Can't compare the two.
Yeah, you can't compare the two words. Come from the same cloth, but different sample.
The triangle offense. It was definitely a sight to see just how it involves every player. It makes every player a threat from the post to the wing to the baseline. You make everybody a threat, and you make everybody guard you. So not everyone's sitting around watching you. If you take one option away, that's what was happening with Doug Collins' teams, as Keith and Rick were saying. If you take Michael out of his game, he's done. But that's what really the triangle really enabled Scotty to really shine. If the triangle was not implemented, I'm not sure how Scotty would have transitioned to the player he was. We don't know that. So Scotty was really a beneficiary of the triangle, and a lot of other players too as well. But those are my takeaways from it. It was definitely better than 3 and 4. I'm excited to see what's to come.
Yeah, to jump off that point, one of my biggest takeaways was Scottie Pippen he set the point forward position. And it was because of that offense. He was the point forward. He trailblazed the way for LeBron James. That ultimate point forward. Pippen was that in the 90s. He was that ultimate point forward. He could pass. He could dribble. He could do a little bit of everything. Pippen definitely set the way and was the trailblazer behind that. One of my biggest takeaways was I never knew about Rodman's emotional problems. Never knew. I never knew he drove that night, had a gun in his car, contemplated, ending his life. I never knew about the Madonna stuff, which is really crazy. My biggest thought was, how would he be taken nowadays? What's your thoughts? How would he be taken in today's NBA? Do you think it'd be more? Do you think how would he be taken?
I'll say, excuse my language, the pussification of America. I don't think it'd be taken off too well. To be perfectly honest with you, I think everything would be blown out of proportion. Mm-hmm. I think in the 90s things were a little just let it go, riding. We need him. But I don't know. I feel like now with the media and social media, especially everywhere, it's that rep follows you everywhere.
Definitely, he was definitely. I couldn't compare him to. I couldn't really think of anyone like him today. I really couldn't. In terms of fashion, maybe Russell Westbrook came to mind, just the way he dresses.
Maybe Cam Newton.
His creativity, yeah, you could say Cam Newton, but he was just a different creature. And that brings me to my next point is, so many personalities on that team, and the biggest two was Jordan and Rodman. The biggest personalities, the way Jordan was, his charisma, Rodman with his outlandish, with his he was a trendsetter. He wanted to be a trendsetter. So that was one of my biggest takeaways. Next thing was, I walk away saying Dennis Rodman was the best rebounder of all time. No questions asked. There was a picture. They put up a picture of like who would win the rebound. Garnett, Draymond Green. I don't even know why Green was in that. Garnett. It was Elijah one, I think. It was Rodman. Rodman's coming down with that rebound. Did you see the way he grabbed those boards?
Yeah, crazy.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
I walk away thinking and I say that now because I didn't grow up watching him. So I walk away saying Dennis Rodman's the greatest rebounder of all time. And Louie, that was one of my biggest takeaways. I remember reading an article maybe 7-8 years ago when I thought I was going to make it to the NBA. So I read how to rebound the ball better. And that came up about how Rodman used to, Jordan had his different role and Kerr had the different role off the fingertips. Like, that guy was a genius. He really was. He was a basketball genius. His outside life is a different story. But basketball, he was a genius.
It
100% agree. Yeah.
took some balls for him also to accept the fact that this is what I'm good at and this is what I'm going to dive into. I'm not going to become this shooter or this dunker or whatever playmaker. I'm a rebounder. I'm a defender, and he took that and he put everything into those entities, and I think that's what makes him really special.
Now to flip that on you, I always figured he was that type of player, and I learned that more. But then there was like a clip or two of him taking a jump shot and absolutely wetting it, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, I walked away saying I never knew he could at least shoot the ball. Let alone rebound like that. So Rodman's definitely.
Sure, it was a rare clip.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he was he rebounded. He went out to the 3-point line. I think they were up like 20 on the team, and he took it. But he was the ultimate winning, not winning, an ultimate team first guy.
Yeah,
genius on the court. It brings up my next point. Him and Phil Jackson were a match made in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that could have worked with any other coach.
Yeah, they connected really good. Yeah.
He was at the Spurs. He was with the Pistons. I mean, the Pistons, he obviously did well. But towards the end of this Pistons, that's when he really started to change. And the only guy that was going to work with him was Phil Jackson. Mm-hmm. Phil Jackson was that guy. And that's why Phil Jackson was able to go off and do things with Kobe and Shaq. Two big personalities, too, later on. So Phil Jackson was a genius. And a lot of similarities between them two, between Jackson and Rodman. Just their beliefs, the Native American, that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I agree. That was pretty interesting to see. And then, what was it? They talked about Phil Jackson and Dennis Rodman. They came in, Dennis came into Jackson's office or whatever, and he was interested in one of those things that he had on Jackson's desk. He's like, oh, what is that? And he gave him an explanation. And he's like, oh, that's really cool. And then he's like, then he said something like, oh, you would be like this or whatever, which means backwards person or whatever. And they went with that. They had that real underlying connection through Native American stuff. That was pretty cool to see too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it was definitely, again, Phil Jackson was the only guy that could work with him.
Yeah.
And to at least use his genius in a great way. And it's fun to see an evocation.
Rick, what do you think about that?
About the whole connection they had?
Yeah, because you talked about that earlier.
Yeah, I just thought it was really cool that Phil was able to really work with this guy who everyone else probably thought was kind of deranged in some of the ways that he acted. But, I just thought it was awesome. He found a home in Chicago and was able to, fulfill a need that the team needed. Before, he got there, they didn't have that guy that was all effort all the time and was willing to do the dirty work like that. And, I just thought it was awesome that the two bonded very well.
It was a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah, Phil had this Zen-like approach too. He was very just one with the trees.
That was
yeah.
I think that had a really big impact on his
that
coaching.
Whole hippie aura. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah,
that had a big impact on his connection with his players, for sure. I definitely believe that. My next thing was I was sitting there watching it, and when they're showing all the Pistons stuff, and I had less hate. That was one of my other takeaways was the less hate. I had less hate on the flashbacks this time. I felt like the first two episodes when they went back and were describing their childhood and everything, I didn't need that. This time it was more connected to how it led to this because Rodman was connected to the 97 finals. The Pistons made the Bulls dynasty. Let me repeat that. The Pistons, losing to the Pistons over and over and over again, made Michael Jordan that beast. Yep. He was already a beast.
Yep.
That elevated it to the next level. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, in my stomach, I'm like, oh, I hate Detroit. Yeah. I hate, oh my God.
Yeah.
I felt a hatred for them. We never got to see that. I felt a hatred for them. And that rivalry was so strong. And again, it makes me think, it's like, what's a big rivalry today? Like, you just don't have that anymore.
No, not really. That.
You don't have that anymore. That was pure hate. And even the Celtics, too. And it makes me think it's like the Celtics were what the Pistons went through. And then the Pistons were what the Bulls went through to get to that level. Reminds me of LeBron with the Celtics. It was the Celtics that made LeBron go to Miami. And that changed LeBron to become the player that he is today, was the Celtics. And then, they went through San Antonio. It's just, you don't see that today. You don't see that type of rivalry. I felt the hatred for the Pistons. Isaiah Thomas is the biggest fraud. I can't stand listening to that guy.
Yep.
I really can't. He was a great player, but I cannot stand listening to that guy. That guy is a complete fraud. Like, he really is. Really is.
What's funny is that I actually think I saw an article not too long ago. I think it was like ESPN or something like that. And Isaiah Thomas, from the Detroit Pistons, obviously, he ranked Michael Jordan as the fourth greatest player he's ever played against. Michael Jordan, the GOAT, the fourth greatest player he's ever played against. Are you kidding me, dude? After all this time, you can't acknowledge the fact the guy's got 6 championships, all these awards and titles that belong to him, records, and you say that he's the fourth greatest player that you've ever played against in your whole career. Are you kidding me, dude? Come on, it's been 30 years. You got to let it go. You know what I mean? You got to admit it.
If he wasn't such a phony, I would I don't know. He's such when he says the only reason why I might agree with him is because he played a different position and maybe Jordan didn't guard him as much. That's the only. But if he's such a phony that I don't believe him.
Yeah,
absolutely. I don't believe him at all.
Even there was an article that came out saying that he was kind of he felt that. Well, not an article, but they were saying in the documentary that they left him out of the USA team, the Olympic team.
Yeah.
They froze him out.
But there was a guy, I think it was the general manager of the team, the USA Olympic team, that says that wasn't the reason why we didn't pick him. That wasn't the reason why. So Isaiah using that speculation for the reason why he got left off the Olympic team. I'm like, dude, now you just sound like more of a clown.
No one liked you.
Jordan whooped your butt.
Yeah.
Get over it.
No one liked you.
You guys had your reign. Don't get me wrong. And that team was good, man. Thomas, Dumars, you had Mahorn, you had Rodman, you had
Sally.
John Sally. I think, who's that bench scorer they had, too? I don't know if that was in the same era. The microwave, they used to call him. Vinnie Johnson.
Yeah, Vinnie Johnson.
Vinnie Johnson, yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know if he was in the same era or not. I'm not sure, but...
They had Ron Harper on. No, Ron Harper was on Cleveland.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was another takeaway too. I didn't realize how good Cleveland was.
Yeah, right.
I realized
that again.
Yeah, seriously, I didn't realize how good Cleveland was. They really were.
Cleveland and Detroit. You think that you're like, geez.
Yeah, not today.
Oh my God.
Hey,
Cleveland and Detroit.
I have more respect for Detroit because of 2004. Cleveland, Cleveland was always LeBron, but Detroit had a really good run for the 2000s during when they had Wallace and they had both Wallaces and they had Richard Hamilton. I have more respect for Detroit still than Cleveland, but
yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Now, please let me explain. Here's why. Number one, it's free. What's better than free? Number two, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcasts right from your phone or computer. You can literally go outside, record whatever you want to, and upload it. That's that easy. Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more streaming services. Here's another great point. You can make more money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Okay? You can make as much money as you want, and there's no minimum on how many listeners will need to listen to it. And lastly, it's everything you need to make a podcast, a successful podcast, in one place. So they make it super easy for you. Here's what you need to do right now. If you're interested in making a podcast, you need to download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor, ANCHOR.FM to get started now. You do not want to miss out. Get started again. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm.com to get started now.
Hey, can we talk about for a sec, just like the passing of the torch between like Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan, and like Jordan's, like Eric touched on it before, just like the NBA Finals when those two guys played each other, and like after the locker room, after the game, when they were both in the locker room, how like Jordan like literally sat down and like cried, and he said like, oh, it's just like you've been waiting for this for so long, and all that like frustration and anger and anxiety and like joy, it just comes out of you, and like his teammates are like looking at him, he's like, I forget who they said, who actually said it, but he's just like, I never knew this guy could like have any other emotion besides like being pissed and angry, and then like I thought that was super interesting too, like just like like Eric was saying earlier, just that frustration of coming so close and like being known for like just like being like a good like scoring title, so that's all you're good for, but actually winning that first championship, and then the embrace actually that Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan had in the in between locker rooms. They came out and they hugged each other, and I think what Jordan said, he was like crying, hugging them. I mean, like I just thought that was pretty interesting to see too, because you don't see, obviously, we weren't there, and you don't really hear about like little stories like that. Those are the things that go underneath the radar, but just like that passing of the torch, that whole like moment that they talked about, that was super interesting to me. I don't know how what do you guys think about that?
I think Paxson. I think it was Paxson that was talking.
Paxson, yeah.
Paxson, one of the worst GMs for the Bulls to update, but we won't talk about that right now. But yeah, it was cool. That was a really cool moment for me, seeing the passing of the torch. I don't know how old Magic was during that time. I'm assuming he was more in the late end of his career. I'm assuming.
I think he retired a few seasons after that.
That was right before his AIDS.
Yeah. Was it? Okay. Mm-hmm. That makes sense then. So yeah, that was like kind of on this tail end of his career. So that was cool to see, and it was cool also. There was like a clip in there where Michael was like, he was on the airplane, and he was talking to one of the guys. He was like, "You cheat." He basically said he was cheating on his girlfriend. He was out one night like with some ladies. He was like, "Man, don't put that on the tape. Don't put that on the tape, man."
Yeah, my parents are gonna watch this, man. Come on.
Yeah. I'm gonna see I'm an alcoholic.
It was cool that MJ, because they said MJ wouldn't drink. I'm not sure how much I believe that in his early seasons that he wouldn't drink. I mean, maybe not as much as the other guys. Maybe, I don't know.
They used to sit there. There was rumors of him downing 6-packs after games. Seriously, like
I'm not sure if I buy the not drinking.
I don't buy that either.
I believe that because there's pictures of him drinking beer.
Yeah.
After games.
I mean,
They used to cut the hydration from the Bears. I swear to God, there's articles on it. I really do. I swear to God.
That's the 90s, man. That's the 90s for you. But it's crazy how Jordan would hold these guys up to a standard. You guys are going to screw around. I'm going to put you on blast for it. Also, kind of, some people would label him as a snitch. I don't know. 6 championships? I'll be a snitch for 6 championships. I don't care. Because you know what? It's all about winning at the end of the day.
That's right.
Yeah. I'd just like to touch on the whole Magic Johnson thing. I think, I really like Magic Johnson. He's a great competitor, but he never has hard feelings towards anybody. He's always smiles. So I thought that was great. Different. I thought that was great that, he really embraced Michael and knew that it was Michael's time to take the throne once he lost that series.
Absolutely.
So I thought that was
Yeah, sorry.
I just thought that was a really cool moment, so.
You could see there was mutual respect. It was Jordan for Bird and Magic, and Bird and Magic had that same mutual respect for Jordan. They knew he was the next guy, so their mutual respect was there. So that was definitely evident. A couple other big points for me was I thought the footage on the 97 team was much deeper. They really got into it. And again, I think as the series goes along, obviously, there's going to be less flashbacks. It's going to be all about the 97 season. So that's what I'm hopefully expecting. I think, again, it was more deeper this time. Another point was the turn of Rodman. That brings me back to the emotional point of when Pippen came back and how he felt, Jordan needed me. And now Pippen's back and he's like, oh, he's back. Oh, I'm not needed that much. And that's when he needed the vacation.
Yeah.
That's when he needed to get away. That was a really big point from the episode. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, what was it? Before that, when they were losing all those games before, I think, what did they start the season like? They were like...
It was like 8-8 or...
something like that, yeah. It was like a 500 season, and like Jordan talked to what was it, Dennis Rodman. He was like, listen, I need you to step up right now. I need you to, like, come on, like, do more. Because he was just like, like before when like Pippen was playing, like you said, like he went on vacation. After he came back, he went on vacation, did his own thing. He was still in that mode until like Jordan had to come over and talk to him. He was like, listen, I need you to do your job because we're losing right now, and I don't want to lose anymore. So you need to step up and like bring it. And then like after you said like when Pippen came back, he's like, all right, now I did my job. I did above and beyond my Call of Duty. I'm gonna go out and have a good time. That was pretty funny actually. Like just thinking about that whole thing.
See, I didn't see it like that. I saw more like I think it's more of like the role that he had. He had to be that good, and I feel like that made him feel good about himself and about the player he was. I felt like he thought that he was. I don't know if he was an all-star at the time, but I felt that role that when Scotty wasn't there gave him some purpose to play that well. When I think Scotty came back, he kind of felt like the odd man out, and I feel like that's why he kind of distanced himself a little bit, and then that's why he had to take that 96-hour hiatus. So I think that kind of affected him. I think Scotty returning kind of bruised his ego a little bit. And not saying that he has a big ego at all, but I think that he's a very sensitive. I think Rodman's a pretty sensitive person. I think people need to understand him for who he is.
Well, Jordan had the trust in Pippen. Everyone knew that already. When Rodman was there, he told Rodman, "You're my guy. You're my guy." That was the ultimate factor in that was he had Jordan's trust, and that's when he started to ball out. Mm-hmm. And then when he saw his guy come back, Pippen, that was it. That was it. So I think overall the big thing was he had Jordan's trust. Jordan confided in him. He needed him. He was that second guy. And obviously when Pippen came back, that kind of went down. My final takeaway from this was Jerry Krause, man. He just always had to find a way to insert himself into everything.
Yep. He
needed it. He's a attention seeker. Clear as day. Players and coaches don't win championships. Organizations do. Like, you have Michael Jordan. He just always had to insert himself. That's as much as I can say about it. He had to insert himself. He needed the attention. He needed the what's the word, Eric?
Validity.
Validity.
Yeah.
Keith, you knew that?
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I graduated college, bro.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I'm actually the only one that hasn't. Well, Eric actually went. So, yeah, he always had to insert himself, attention seeker. That's what I didn't like about him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, blurring insecurities for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that I think that part of that may have to do. I mean, it's a secondary thing, but I think that it feeds into it. Is that how like everyone busts on him and stuff too. He's like, hey man, they're making fun of him and all that, but he made this all happen to a certain extent. He drafted or was in charge of getting Jordan and Pippen, and he wanted that. He's like, hey, this all wouldn't have happened for me, and he just wanted to make that known. But the way that he went around it, or went about it, I should say, just made him look like a total like turd bag, you know what I mean? Like a complete scumbag. The way he did it, he just didn't handle it in the right way. You know what I mean? And everyone hated him for it.
To comment on your quote, Mike, what was the quote that Jerry Krause word for word?
Players and coaches don't win championships. Organizations do.
No shit, Sherlock.
Just an attention seeker.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
That's what he was. To back up your point, Keith, the first episode, I think it was right in the beginning too. Like the first 5 minutes, they talked about his childhood. Like just look at his appearance. His childhood, he was bullied, and he always wanted attention.
Yeah.
That was the ultimate demise, and I think we're going to find that out. That was the ultimate demise of this whole team.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted the attention. He wanted to show that he was in charge. That's why he said Phil Jackson's not coming back next year.
Yep.
If for him, he wanted to show that he was in charge, he was the man behind everything, and that ultimately destroyed the whole entire thing. That could have kept going, like we said in the last episode. That could have kept going.
Yep.
It was his ego.
They could have got 2 more championships easy.
It was his ego and his willingness to be his want to show everyone that I'm the man, I'm in charge. I put this team together. It's not Jordan and Pippen, it's me.
Yep.
That's what ruined the whole entire thing. Eric, what's your thoughts on that, man? Because I'm heated.
Mike's on fire.
And I think we lost Eric. Eric? Hello? Eric? All right.
Oh, sorry, I was having bad connection.
Sipping his
Can you
lemonade.
repeat that?
No, I was just saying, like, my point was how Jerry Cross needed to insert himself to everything. He was an attention seeker, and he was the demise of this whole thing.
What are your thoughts on that, Eric?
What are your thoughts on that?
Sorry, it keeps like lagging. Yeah, I definitely think he was looking for attention and credit for the team. But like you said, you know, he felt the need to let everyone know that he was responsible for this team, and but he definitely had a way of alienating people around him, and I think a lot of people in the organization kind of lost respect for him a little bit, and you know, he really led to the demise of the team in a way. So.
All right.
He had some of a Belichick vibe to that kind of scenario too. Not saying that Belichick is the same way, but I mean the ego you can say is there with Belichick. He kind of wanted to prove that, hey, like I can build another team just as great as this one. I can do that. I'm that great, and I feel like it was an individual accolade versus the team accolade. I think that's, you can say, or like that in that quote, Mike. You can see the glaring insecurity, like all the salt coming from that dude. Like, oh, I'm not getting the props or the respect due. You could just, it's so easy to tell.
It's gross. It's gross. And we'll never find out about Belichick. We'll find out in the 2047 documentary
That's
called
right. Yeah.
Stairway to Seven, denied. Last year.
Make sure you guys tune out on that next episode whenever it's coming out.
Stairway to Seven, denied.
Yeah.
My final question to you guys was, I was sitting there, you know, I was listening to a lot of stuff this week, but what do you want to see what do you want to see for the rest of the series? Do you guys have any points you'd like to see? Anything specific? You'd like to find out at least?
I just want to see more of those like little moments, like I mentioned earlier, between like, you know, stuff like that you normally wouldn't see. You know, like I wanted to see like more behind the scenes things, like if that makes sense. You know, like more moments like between like Magic and Jordan, and then like they talk like showing you know, Dennis Rodman in the locker room or in the you know, the players' facility or whatever, the coaching facility, wherever he was, you know, just watching film. I want to see more stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because obviously we know the ending of like what happened. You know, the team fell apart, but I want to see more inside moments like that. You know, leading up to it. That's what I'm really looking forward to. You know, because we all know what they did, but I just want to see more into it, more behind the scenes.
Eric? All right, Eric's checking his Louie.
Rick's got the lag going on right now.
Oh my God!
He's drinking that lemonade, watching the movies.
Jeez, that's the daily Rick comment on the Studs podcast.
Hello?
There he is.
There he is.
I'm sorry, I keep having bad connection.
Eric, do you have any thoughts about anything in general in life?
What do you want to see more towards the? What do you want to see, Eric, in the going forward in this documentary? What do you want to see the most?
Really, I just want to see how this team, because I remember hearing that they were kind of like not middle of the pack, but they definitely weren't like the number one ranked team in the NBA about the middle of the season. I just kind of want to see how they turn it around and really how they work their way up to making it back to that sixth title, making it back to the finals. So I think that'll be interesting to know how they kind of all come back together.
Mm-hmm.
Louie?
Yeah, Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off Rick's point. I think it's gonna be cool to see like the trials and tribulations they kind of went through to that season, and more some behind the scenes details of how that all happened. I'm sure there'll be some scenes where people are yelling at each other, getting each other's faces. I like to see a little more Hollywood stuff, more dramatics. Cause I'm just that kind of guy, but that's what I'd like to see personally.
Well, for me, they hit it a little bit with some of the clips. I'd like to see them show the dark side of Jordan. Like, if they're going to continue doing these flashbacks, I'd like to see them show the dark side of Jordan. And what I mean is the gambling. I don't think it affected his play at all. I just want to see it selfishly. Yeah. I would love to see them show that dark, unwinning side of Jordan, like him gambling, his gambling issues, the issues that led to his father's death. I think that's going to get covered. I think they'll have a part of it. I would love to see his quit when he quit on them in the '94 season and went and played baseball and didn't win and didn't do well. I would love to see them show that side because right now I think they're painting a great picture on him.
Mm-hmm.
But remember his quote, "You're probably not going to like me, or you're going to think I'm a different guy."
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they show that. Not that I think he's the greatest winner in basketball of all time, but you can question a lot of his off stuff. Yeah. Maybe not Nike, but not that they're going to bring this up. They're not going to bring up Charlotte, but Charlotte's a disaster. You could question a lot of the stuff he did outside of basketball. And I'd love to see at least them cover the baseball part of it or what led him to make that decision and why he quit, because he did quit. He quit.
Mm-hmm.
Quit. Just like Pippen quit on them too in that '97. So they weren't a perfect. And Rodman, you could technically say he quit for 96, whatever, how many hours it was. I want to see that I want to see that different side of Jordan that hasn't been really portrayed to everyone because everyone thinks he's the greatest winner of all time. I would love to see that dark side, at least some of it. I don't think it's not gonna fill up the whole thing, but just a little touch on that would be really good to me. That's what I would love. I would love to see.
I think one more thing I'd like to really see, and they've kind of hinted at it a little bit, is really how he mentored Kobe Bryant. I think because they showed some clips of him playing against him and kind of just how he shaped Kobe Bryant into that killer mentality of a player, and really how Kobe learned from Michael. I think that would be cool to see.
That's gonna be I think next week they have Kobe in it.
Yeah.
And that's just like, to me, it's just like so soon.
Yep.
It's like so like, even David Stern too. I think David Stern was in the first episode.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, wow. Like that's good. That's gonna be different seeing Kobe. If I again, I could be wrong. I think I saw a preview where they had him on there. They started discussing that. That's gonna be like, I don't know. It's going to be great, of course, but it's just, for me, it's like, wow, it's only been 4 months now, almost going off 4 months, so it'll be different. Yeah, that's what I want to see. Any final thoughts, guys? Wrap it up.
None for me, other than I'm looking forward to the next, 2 episodes coming out.
Yeah, Mike, I think you made a great point with the dark side of Jordan and things of that nature. I think the way this documentary is kind of going, it's come the highs for Jordans. I think they'll take, like you said, they'll probably have some kind of dip in what we think about him, and then it'll probably go back up. So I think it'll kind of have those highs and lows. That'd be cool to see some lows for sure. So I don't really think about that.
No one can question his competitiveness on the court. Like, no one can question that. That's not a question. He's the greatest winner to me of all time in the NBA on the court. You can't say that about LeBron. LeBron lost to the stinking Dallas Mavericks. He gave up. Like, he's the greatest winner of all time on the court. He's not the greatest winner of all time outside of that. He's not that good outside of that. Like, I don't know about his personal, I don't know about if any relationship stuff or anything like that, but in terms of the gambling stuff, I think that needs to be portrayed. And I think, honestly, he's gonna sit there and tell you the truth about it. He's gonna be like, yeah, I quit on them. I think I could see that coming out because he's been pretty upfront about everything.
Yeah.
I think he'll sit there and tell you, I messed up, or I shouldn't have started this, or gambling was too much, and I still do it way too much. I think he'll sit there and give you the honest thing. That brings my final. I forgot to bring this up. Just the way he was with the media, again, just proved how much of a charismatic guy he was. He was so great with the media. He told it like it is. Again, I brought up Tom Brady, how phony he was. How phony he could be at at press conferences. Jordan was the complete opposite. I think it's just a different upbringing, different way of life. I appreciate that. Like, as a reporter, I probably love going up to him all the time. Not that he gave you great answers all the time, but he was honest with you. He talked to you. He had a relationship with you. That was my final takeaway. I don't have no more, but that was definitely in there. I definitely wrote that down during that. One last thing is, I have an important question for all of you guys. I would love to have Mr. Rick Herr back for episodes 5 and 6, as long as he has an open appointment in the book. I know he's very busy. Eric, would you like to join us again?
Yes, I will be back, Mike.
Oh my God, this is great. This is great. Eric, can we follow you on any handles at all? You got any social media handles we can follow you on?
Instagram is just Eric Herb, all lowercase, no space, no nothing. I'm on Facebook.
With the same name.
Hey, he works at NBA, right? Do you work at NBA? Is that what it was?
No, it was Sports Center,
Eric,
Mike. Sports
Works
Center.
at Sports Center.
Eric, how do you spell it? How do you spell Eric, by the way? Because people don't know. This is different.
Urik.
Not URIC, URIK.
URIK. He's a good follow. Keith, where can we follow you? Anywhere.
You can follow me on Facebook. Obviously Keith Herb. Instagram, if you want to do that. I haven't posted anything on there in like 4 years. The only thing I really post on there is just when you come up with new videos and stuff. But if you wanna hit me up with a follow, it's Keith _ Herb, and those are pretty much my two main things for social media. I'm more on Facebook than I am on Instagram, though. You can like my memes and stuff if you want.
What are we doing?
Yeah, social media handles, man.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram, my first name _ last name. And also follow me on Twitter, first name, last name. And now first names and last names would be.
When you get that in the beginning.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Louie _ Sasso would be my Instagram, and Louie Sasso would be my Twitter. So I can spell it out for you in native phonetics if you'd like. So it'd be Lima, Oscar, Uniform, India, Echo, Sierra Alpha, Sierra Alpha.
I have no clue what you just said, but okay.
Put
Is that Morse code?
No, it's not Morse code.
You say that over the phone. This is what happens when you work in tech support.
You can follow me on Facebook at Michael Rossi Jr., Instagram, Michael J. Rossi Jr. My other one got hacked, so I had to make a new one, Michael J. Rossi Jr. Snapchat, mrossi82. No Twitter. Xbox, mrossi82. If you want to come join us in 2K neighborhood, that'd be great.
Xbox, lazy NXTP, if you feel like
it. Anyway, you can check us out, anchor.fm/studs podcast. We are streaming on all different platforms, Spotify, Google Podcast, and more. You can check out our Facebook page, Studs Podcast. And on YouTube, you can check us out, Studs Podcast. Anyway, thank you guys for listening to us, checking us out. You can like, comment, subscribe on our YouTube page. Give us some follows on Spotify. And if you'd like to, I know it's a rough time right now, but even if it's 99 cents, if you want to see us keep going, you can definitely sponsor us on Anchor. That'd be greatly appreciated. Well, thank you guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you guys next time. Let's podcast.